What is up, everybody? This is a follow-up of a multi-part series on a project, full stack development that I'm currently trying to set up and work on. Again, I'm going to preface here that it's all for learning purposes. None of this is to be shared with anybody in terms of the files and stuff like that. But it can help people learn, right? And where we left off from the last video was we were looking at this website, this source, which gives us the steps for the business requirements document. And I had to refresh my memory because I wasn't the primary initiator / creator of the business requirements document on a project that I did in college, which is the only project that I did that involves a partnership between my college and a company. So it's real-world experience that is maybe the company is going to be using. They said that they want to use it, but basically the business requirements document, if you don't know what Agile methodology is, we have a video, just a couple videos from before this one, that explains like a short summary of Agile methodology. And I'm not going to go into detail on that because we already did. In the business requirements document, we are still in the fourth part of it. We didn't do the first one because in the first one it says that you should first complete all the second to seventh parts and then go back and then do the first one, the executive summary. Right now we're doing, in this one, we haven't touched these ones yet. I haven't read down here, but this one's saying that we should be prioritizing each action that we're going to be describing in this part, which is the business requirements. And basically, I'll just read this again. It says the business requirements are the meat of your business requirements document template. In this section, you'll list the actions required to accomplish your project. Depending on the project complexity, this list may be just a few items, or it may be extensive. And yeah, so I've already went ahead and in the last video we stopped here at this point. So I created in the fourth part, the business requirements, I created this part about creating a website. And in this part we have to go into kind of more detail on the actions we need to do for the project. And I can go ahead and just refresh your memories a little bit. The first thing that I described was creating a website, which is on the presentation layer. And I was saying, like, okay, we're going to have all pages, we're going to have a header, a body, and footer. The header is going to have a banner. When clicked, the user is going to be redirected to the home page. And the body is going to be a top navigation bar, so that's going to be just the body's in between the header and the footer. And at the top of the body, just below the header, there's going to be a horizontal navigation bar where the user can click links like text, like registration, home, login, and stuff like that. Whatever I described previously in the business requirements document. And then below that, for the rest of the body, is going to be the content of each page. So each page will have a different content below there in the body. And for the footer, we're going to have information about the game. It's going to be probably static across all pages. It's going to be the same. And then I go into more detail about the pages. So home page is going to have a body, and then it's going to, in the body is going to be news, login panel. The login panel is going to have user authentication. So that's what this part is. How you differentiate it from the rest of the parts is that you're kind of going into more detail on how things are going to be set up and what actions you need to do for everything to work. So up until here, it's all for the presentation layer, the website, all the way down here. And then now we're doing the next point, which is still under 4 business requirements. And it's going to be about the anti-cheat that I want to create. And the way I see it is that we're probably going to have to use at the end of the last video, I only put this, and I didn't write any of this stuff. But I can go ahead and explain. So the first thing I need to do is, well, the game server is already there, so it's already part of the source. So I guess I could just remove all this, and we can start over again. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to use the Maple character class that already exists with the source. I'm assuming that it's called Maple character because I've had experiences with a lot of different private server sources for this game. So normally I think it's called the Maple character class, and in this class I'm assuming, because back then I didn't have all the experience that I have now in terms of, you know, computer science related things that I've learned in college, but now I know I know just, you know, all the basics, you know what I mean? I know all the basics, and I'm trying to expand my knowledge for the work environment. It's very important to keep on your toes and keep learning and staying up to date with new technologies and all that. So in the Maple character Java class, that's already going to be probably there. There has to be one, because otherwise we can't play with any games with the character. We're going to have to basically log player damage, dealt to enemies / mobs. And the way we're going to do that is, just give me 1 second here. Just need to make sure I format this. Okay. The way we're going to do that is we're going to connect to the database. I'm assuming using some kind of connection string or something like that. Well, I mean, the game's already connected to the database, but we're just going to have to log via MySQL connection to table. The next step is to also log we're going to have to log at the same time, right? This is all at the same time. So we're going to have to log player information, actually. So I'm going to have to change this because it needs to be more detail. Log player information . So instead of writing damage, we're going to do information. When player deals damage to enemies. And optimally, if you were actually doing this for like a real environment with a bunch of players, you probably wouldn't want to log every time the player attacks, because that's just it's going to tax the server resources that the server that's running, like the machine that the server is running on. So you would probably want to log like every 5 minutes or something like that. The damage that the player does after every 5 minutes or something like that, kind of randomize it, because if you set a specific time, the people who are cheating and hacking in your game, they might be able to discover a pattern that, like, oh, okay, so he's going to log every 5 minutes that when we are damage that we deal to enemies. So what we can do to counter that is we can turn off our cheat at 4 minutes and 59 seconds, for example. They would probably make it a little bit lower, like 4 minutes and 50 seconds, just to be safe. But they would probably turn off their cheat after 4 minutes and 50 seconds, or something like that. I don't know. It would be something like that, right? You would need to randomize how often the server is checking the damage of the player. That's when it's dealing damage to enemies, and to prevent people from, detecting the pattern and being able to continue to cheat without being caught. So we log the player information when the player deals damage to enemies / mobs. So we're going to need to be more specific now, and what we're going to do, we're going to actually log the buffs on the player at the time of damage, and we're going to have to log the equipment stats, equipped item stats at the time of damage. I think that's about it. That's the only information we need to log in order to know if the person is cheating or not. So if you know MapleStory, you're already familiar with how you're able to, actually we're going to have to log the stats of the player at the time of damage. Yeah, so if you know MapleStory, you already know that I think everything that counts for how much damage you can do, everything possible, is if the player has any buffs, that will increase their damage. And if the player has, well, they're going to have at least one item equipped to be able to attack, which is their weapon, but they can have glasses, they can have a hat, they can have earrings, they can have a mask, they can have armor, chest plate, leggings, gloves. So we're going to have to log all the stats of the items at the time of the damage. And we're going to have to log the actual stats of the character, so you can increase your strength, your intellect, your dexterity, and I think your endurance. And then I think there's one more thing that can affect how much damage a player deals, and that's the debuffs on the enemy. So if the enemy slash mob is applied debuffs, which is usually applied by characters in the game, other players, or even yourself, and I think the amount of damage you can do could be increased, but I think that's going to be a little bit complex, and we'll just keep it simple for that. You know, if you want to create a proper anti-cheat for detecting damage hacks, you would have to also take into consideration the debuffs on the enemy at the time of the attack. And I know that would be hard, because I'm thinking about it, and it's possible. I already know. I can already think of how to do it, but that's not part of the scope of this project. The whole point is just to do something like this where we're able to like communicate with the data layer from the business layer and create something meaningful and learn from it. Because so that's that. Next, after logging the player information when player deals damage, blah blah blah, log the buffs. And it's going to be through MySQL connection. From game server. I think that's about it for that. But the anti-cheat is going to need something else as well, and what that is it's going to need to. So once it logs that, right, what's going to need to happen is that we're also going to need to set the server to. I mean, this might not necessarily be part of the anti-cheat. Actually, this should just be part of regular server maintenance, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is the server should be shut down for maintenance every so often, and during that time frame where the server automatically shuts down for maintenance, this is where we're going to be basically deploying server maintenance, server auto maintenance deploy machine learning model RapidMiner. Deploy RapidMiner to detect damage hackers, cheaters. What I'm trying to say here is, realistically, in a real game, real games, like real games, right? Because this isn't like a real game. In a real game, you would actually have a separate anti-cheat that's running at the same time as the game. And this separate anti-cheat isn't actually running on the server's machine. It's actually running on the user's machine. Because you can only imagine that if the server, the machine that the server is running on, the game server, has to deploy um, some kind of service program like RapidMiner and um, frequently to detect if somebody's cheating, it would use a lot of resources. And plus, like if we're doing the way I'm doing, you would basically have to shut down the server every so often, and that's not really um, optimal, right? For a game, you want to have the servers always running, like technically, right? And that's why anti-cheats are always run on the client side, not on the server side, because especially if you're like, if you actually want to have a proper anti-cheat, um, it would be on the client side because that it's using the client's uh, you know computer resources to constantly check all the time if the player is cheating. So imagine if you had to do that for every single player on one server. That's why every game that you play, online multiplayer games, the anti-cheat is actually just a program running on the client side that's communicating with the server and letting it know if, yeah, this person's been caught cheating, they did something on their computer, and they changed some values here, and they're trying to send it to the server, and then, you know. But again, this is for the purpose of learning. This is not realistic, but yeah. So basically, for me, my own purposes, and applying what I've learned in college to real world scenarios, projects. This is, like I said, it's just for learning purposes, and it doesn't make any sense, like practically, but theoretically, it does make sense, I guess you say. And what we're trying to do here is, like I was saying, the server has auto maintenance, so it shuts down every so often. Since I'm the only one that's going to be on it, I'm just going to make it shut down frequently. And then what I want to do is, before the server shuts down, uh, deploy um, the server should extract, or we should launch a batch script or something. So we're going to somehow automate what's it called? Uh, we're going to automate exporting the table with an S maybe, where we stored this information here of buffs and stats and damage of all players as, I don't know, some kind of form that RapidMiner can read. Such as Excel XLSL, XLSL. I can't remember the other formats, but for example, as a PowerPoint document or something like that. And we're going to need to do that from the database management system, or just a database, because I don't know if it's exactly necessary to use the database management system to extract. You probably just run commands in a terminal or something for MySQL. You can automate that. So that's what we're going to do for that. So some automation is coming into play here, and that's going to need to be done first. So first we're going to have to export the tables with all the information, and then we're going to have to automate running RapidMiner to predict class label, which I think is supervised learning, if I remember correctly. Let me just look that up real quick. Okay, I just had to look it up real quick just to make sure that it's right, because I just couldn't remember which one was which. But yes, supervised learning is for predicting class labels, versus unsupervised, there's no class label. So supervised learning, you would have KNN or decision tree, I think, and then for like unsupervised learning, you would have something like outlier detection and some other machine learning algorithms. But yeah, we're going to be using supervised learning to predict class label, which is cheating. The class label is cheating. Well, that's going to be damage hack. Yeah. So that's that. And then we're going to have to automate deploying the server, starting server back up online. So the server is going to have to it's going to have to deploy again, right? For people to connect. So we're trying to automate all of this. The other thing that I want to do, which so far everything that I've described in the anti-cheat and the create website, I have experience with every single one of these things. I know how to write batch scripts and all that kind of stuff for automating tasks. I've created a website before in a full stack environment. All this and that. I know how to do all this stuff. Machine learning. I know how to teach models to detect, predict information. But the next point, which might be our last point, was it was about the CAPTCHA. So I guess this is part of the website. So I guess this would fall under create website here on the presentation layer, and it would be on the registration page. So here we have the CAPTCHA image. So we're going to have to create CAPTCHA image. So we're going to have to create CAPTCHA images with I don't know, messed up numbers and or letters, and we're gonna have to automate deploying AI. Well, we're gonna have to create an AI first of all. So I guess that does fall under a new point. Image recognition. So image recognition and artificial intelligence I don't have experience with, and that's one of the main things I'm trying to get experience with. Image recognition, AI, and I think this involves neural networks. Neural networks. So we're gonna have to. Well, I guess I don't have to declare that there, but I guess this for the AI, you basically, if I remember correctly, like I didn't go through the guide yet. I just read the first few pages because that's what I'm interested in right now is image recognition. Is to set up AI neural network. Let me just do this real quick. Set up AI. Because I don't really know exactly how it's supposed to go, so I'm just assuming right now. Neural network. And yeah. If I could basically quickly kind of summarize what I remember reading about the neural network, it's basically just like a bunch of functions in a program which are recursively calling each other, but like the recursion happens like tens of thousands of times. But yeah, so I can't really expand on this too much. I can just say that this is what we're going to be doing. And from here, I can just elaborate on the create website registration. Is I need to create CAPTCHA images with messed up numbers and letters for the AI that we create to decipher. Realistically, you would like, since you're creating the numbers and letters, or if you use another provider, whatever image is given to the client slash the user of the application when they try to register or try to access a website, whatever. Just the image is already, the letters, numbers, or whatever symbols inside the picture are already deciphered and associated with the image. So people can, so there's no like processing, right? Otherwise, why would you technically, it doesn't make any practical sense to, have an AI do this. Unless you're the user and you're trying to bot and create a bunch of accounts, right? in which case you would use an AI to decipher the letters and the symbols basically in the picture, so that you can keep creating massive amounts of accounts in a short amount of time. But anyways, so create captcha images with messed up numbers, blah, blah, blah. Automate deploying the AI for image recognition, decipher symbols in captcha. And compare user entered symbols to AI detected symbols. Yeah. Automate deploying AI for image recognition, decipher symbols in CAPTCHA, and yeah. So yeah, that's basically it. That's what we're going to be doing. So the whole AI neural network thing is going to be image recognition thing is going to be something new to me, like completely new. Everything else I've pretty much done before already that I've mentioned here. So now we have to order it by the order of importance. Since this is a personal project, I would say that I can just do whatever I want, which I am. But if we were to think about on a business perspective, what they would want, they would obviously first want the website, right? Because if the game client doesn't let you register accounts for the game, then you would only in that case, right? And you would want to prioritize creating a website. So I'm going to put this as 1 priority. Priority 1. I'll put this in bold. Put this in bold as well. I should probably just underline this or something. I should put that in bold. And then put this underscore. So priority 1. And then you would probably want to prioritize the image recognition since it's part of the website and your registration process. So realistically, in a real business environment, they would probably set image recognition as priority number 2. Actually, this would maybe be priority number 1. Actually, no, realistically, they would want to get, like, the game isn't released yet, right? And they're creating all this stuff to release for the release of the game, right? The website would be the last priority. They would want to get the anti-cheat and the image recognition. So they would want to get the anti-cheat as priority number 1, so that nobody can mess up the game and do things that shouldn't be done. And then they would want to prioritize the image recognition AI, because that's going to be used for the website later on. And then at the end, once they think everything's good and set for the database and the data layer and the business layer, then they would work on the presentation layer last. But because this is there's no stakeholders and this is just personal, blah blah blah, I'm just going to do I'm going to start with the website first because I'm more familiar with that. I'm not under any time constraints, and then after that I'm going to do the anti-cheat. Is going to be my priority 2, because again, I actually know how to do all these things. Like I know I can actually do this. I have experience with everything here. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be learning about artificial intelligence and setting up image recognition with a neural network, because it's going to take a lot. This is going to take a lot of time. So if people want to see, I just want to see progress first. So it's going to be more motivating for me if I get these things done and prove to myself that I can do this, which I already have experience with, and then after that do this. Because if I do this, I'm not able to succeed, then I'm going to be not as motivated to proceed with these other points. So yeah, that's the other part of the business requirements documents. If you read here, it says, in addition to listing your requirements and describing them, rank them by priority and assign each item a level of importance based on how critical they are. I already explained in a real business scenario with stakeholders and everything which would be more prioritized, and I said that it would first be the anti-cheat, and then it would be the image recognition, and then it would be the website. And then the next thing, it says, if one of your requirements is to code a website, you may assign this task as a #1 priority. You can also label. Okay, so now we can move on to 5, which is stakeholders, which I don't have any stakeholders. So this might just be might be skipped or something. It says key stakeholders. Project stakeholders include anyone with an interest in your project. You know what? I'm actually gonna make this the next video. So it's already been 42 minutes. I've been talking a lot. I talk a lot. That's just how I am. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. The next video is we're gonna pick up from where we left off. Thank you.